So, in a recent sit-down with Idea Generation, Joe Budden, talks about him getting into podcasting, but also how Everyday Struggle was formed. And he also he talked about how him and the guy on, I don't know who the guy is who does the interviewing on Idea Generation, but apparently he was a part of Everyday Struggle to some degree. But they both said that it was one of the best hip-hop shows, if not the best hip-hop show ever. We'll watch this, and then I'm curious if you think that is Joe Budden responsible for elevating Akademiks to the level that he is?
Oh God!
Watch this.
Lightning in a bottle. That's one of the best shows. Period. Like I'm saying, in hip hop, but that was one of the best shows. Period.
I agree with you that it was the best hip hop show.
I stand in that. I don't give a what show they bring up. That was the one.
Where you were at, where Ak was at the moment, and I mean, you look at the marketplace in the last 6 years. That was the blueprint for.
Mm-hmm. It was, and it was great. I was looking to hire somebody that I could yell at. That's what I was looking for. Contrast and thought and opinion and delivery, and when we found it, that was it. So yeah, that was gonna be different. Again, hip hop doing a debate style show with shout out to all the producers and everybody that was involved in that year that I was there. Everybody hit out the park.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because I think whenever that was, I think I was unemployed, so I had time to get up in the morning and watch this every day. And I had no idea who DJ Akademiks was before Everyday Struggle.
I knew of him because of his Chirac stuff and the criticism around it, but that was about it.
Wasn't that around the same time?
It was very similar to. It was close.
Okay, but this was a show that I think a lot of people watched, and when you see the content creation, even if it's not centered around hip hop right now, it's very much influenced. Even all the guys who do sports or comedy or whatever, a lot of it is very much influenced by Everyday Struggle. So. I'm just saying I agree. Yeah, Joe Budden's right with this one.
Yeah. I agree as well. I mean, once Everyday Struggle came on and went, Akademiks was still out here in the limelight. He was able to move on by himself and do whatever he does
in his basement.
In his basement, and he didn't miss a beat.
No.
And now he's literally considered a newsworthy reporter.
That's really sad.
That's crazy because as soon as Akademiks brought up that bullshit topic that Spools put in the post that you thought we were really going to talk about.
I would have laughed out loud.
Yeah, those are academic style posts and they do numbers. And we would have never heard of Akademiks if it wasn't for Joe Budden. Joe Budden has more pull than people give him credit for.
I would agree.
Although his music didn't jump like he wanted to, he was on a popular TV show called Love and Hip Hop. Kind of led to podcasting as well. So,
he even talked in this interview. He talked about how that he was actually thinking about moving on from rap like back in 2013 and earlier. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he was saying, it's the very beginning of this clip, so go back and watch if you're interested for more context. But he was pretty much like, no, this was a natural, like, people people were just kind of like, oh no, you don't rap anymore, blah. He's like, no, this is what I wanted to do. This was the best for my family. This is the best for where I was at this time. Rapping played its part. And then he's like, I always thought I was going to get into radio, but none of them wanted to leave. So here we are in this space, and it just kind of evolved the way that it did. And he was in the right place at the right time. Yeah. So,
I think it's worked great for him.
Yeah, it did.
And at one point when he was signed to Def Jam, he was working, I believe, at Hot 97, and they were like, no, you can't. Like, there's still the era where the old thinking was like, oh, you're overexposed, you're doing this, that, and the third. Now, if you could get a rapper from a major label and say, oh, he's also got a job on the radio, they would go crazy over that.
Yeah, there's somebody called Ludacris that's literally how his record, his career jumped off. It was part of being a radio personality.
Chris Lover.
And then he was able to transition that into the rapper. He literally said he went to a conference one weekend and people had heard his music that weekend. His exposure at that conference led to him never going back to the radio again. That weekend. He was supposed to be back on the radio on Monday.
Interesting.
And he got so much rep from one song or something he got out, he never went back to the radio.
I never knew that story.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but
his story is dope.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is and I get it, because once again, I come from radio. I know exactly what the inner workings are and what not only what they pay people, but what you're able to make if you can kind of finesse the game. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine what it would be in, he's in New York and working at Hot 97. But at a certain point now, if you can, and I know we're on while we have our followers, we have our situation, we have our accolades, if you will. Like if someone asked me to get back in radio and my man, shout out to DJ Rec1, he did kind of, see if it was something I was still interested in because he had a new situation back in St. Louis. I was like, I have no desire to get back into radio. Not only because I know what it is and I'd have to play the same 15 to 20 songs every 45 minutes, but it's like if I want to have an opinion on something and really talk about an artist who might be at the top of the game or at the bottom of the game, I got to keep my mouth shut. Mm-hmm. I got to be like, hey, coming up next. No, I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. I'm not in that space. And I think that's what makes, if I were, working in radio, everyone would have to have some sort of podcast, whether it be a 15 or 30-minute situation. Every one of my personalities would have to have a podcast, and I'd pay them extra for it. That's the only thing. Like, I know why it doesn't happen because nobody wants to pay anybody.
Yeah, it damn near happens now because if you look at the Breakfast Club, literally all of them have their own separate podcast or something else going on outside of that.
But they had to create that. It wasn't something that was facilitated by the radio station.
And then they ended up turning the actual program into a podcast.
Exactly.
Because they seen what podcast numbers and the payoffs they do. So they're literally double dipping because they have national broadcasting because their radio show is syndicated. So it's in all kind of markets and they double up on YouTube. And they did that based off of was it the Fabulous and Ray J situation?
Yeah.
That went crazy on YouTube. They weren't monetizing their situation at that point in time. So they seen how many numbers somebody put that up and what it was doing, and that person probably got paid off of that.
Right. Yeah.
And they was like, we need to transition into something else.
But this is the crazy thing. Like if Charlemagne, I know he has his own situation with the Brilliant Idiots. DJ Envy, he has a thing, I believe, with his wife. I'm not sure if I don't listen to marriage content, so I don't care. And then Angela Yee, I know she's not on the show anymore, but she has
her own show.
She has Lip Service.
And Lip Service.
If iHeart decided, okay, the Breakfast Club is over. They all have their own brands. They all have their own RSS feeds, essentially, that they can exploit and go direct to consumer and get the advertising dollars if that's something that they want to do. Yeah. So that's
a good position to be in.
That's the difference. At least that should be the difference now. So once again, if I could go back and tell however old I was in 1999, and I'm on the radio doing overnights and filling in on weekends for people, I'd say start to create your own content. The platforms may not be there, but, if you're in a position to do so, these interviews that you're doing every once in a while, make sure you're recording those and keep them in your own archive so you can put them out and create your own platform later. And I would say that to anybody who's in radio now. If you just think, oh, I'm on radio, I'm on. No, you're not. You better be creating something for yourself, because once these people get tired of you and contracts are up and radio stations get sold, you'll be out on the street and you'll have nothing of your own.
Yeah, that's why you have to give credit when credit is due to people like a Wendy Williams and a Tom Joyner, who was literally flying from Chicago to Texas every day to do 2 radio shows before you could do syndication.
Right.
These people were pioneers in the game, and it's almost like they knew what was going to happen. Just did it.
But Tom Joyner was a beast, man.
But I will tell you this is how, when you talk about having a job with these media companies, look, they did the Wendy Williams show for a year and a half without Wendy Williams. Yeah. You better make sure that you own whatever it is that you're doing and be able to create your own platform outside of the corporate entity that has put you on.
Facts.